Welcome back to Unleashing. I put out this video yesterday about prepping, right? And honestly, it's not enough. I woke up and I was thinking about it. It's like, it needs to be talked about more. This isn't something that I want to lightly go over. It is serious. And when I told you that I've been prepping for 15 years, I want you to know that I've been doing that behind the scenes while making videos, talking to people and everything else, right? That's also why I have debt that I have to pay off, right? It's because I've bought preps and stuff like that, and I take it very, very seriously. And I want you guys to, but I want to emphasize it, how important it is, by saying, like your life depends on it, without freaking people out. But it is serious, and I want to talk about like some of the ways that they can do this. And I've been thinking about it, and we have prophecies from Dmitry Duduman and stuff like that. It shows when America gets at the full-on siege, right, with nukes coming from Russia on the East Coast, and a total invasion on the West Coast by China, right? Right. So we already know this stuff happens, but what are some of the things that lead up to that? Is there partial occupation, which sometimes can happen? I totally think so. If they do a full-on attack, if they did, it could also unite America, and that's something they don't want. They need that division, all right? Just like in a prison, you need that division. You need the different gangs in there fighting amongst themselves, narking on each other. If they realize, hey, they want us to have gangs, they want us to be in division, like, let's put our differences aside for this little bit and join up, then they could overthrow the guards and come up with a plan and escape the prisons, right? So they don't want that. It's the same way in America, right? They don't want us to be united at all, especially if they're trying to overthrow us, and we're the last, like, bastion, basically, of freedom, where we get to have guns, shoot back, and everything else. And they are hitting us on every single front through the socialist communist movement, aka the Democratic Party, all right? They're the step right away from being the effing Nazis, all right? Exactly how it started over there in Germany, all right? And it's an abomination. So, I mean, like, it's serious. Like, we're right there. And I don't want people to think that I'm just lightly going over, so you should have preps and stuff like that. Like, I'm trying to say it's life or death without saying, hey, freak out, it's life or death, because you need to trust in God, too, at the same time. But if I've been prepping for 15 years, that's how serious that I'm talking about taking this, all right? It's no joke, and like I say, I've been doubling down. What's even more interesting is I feel like God has opened the door for me to double down on getting things and being prepped and ready and stuff like that. And that only tells me that, it's going to be what you expect. We're getting pulled out in the last minute, in the last second of the last hour, before it gets completely chaotic. He's going to hold it off all the way to the end. And we have story after story in the Bible that shows God doing nothing less but that. He always holds off right to the end. It's more dramatic and awesome that way, makes great stories. But when you're going through it, it's hellacious, all right? And there's an extremely good chance it's going to be the same way with this, all right? Stuff's going to be breaking down somewhat and everything like that. So I want to talk about a few things. All right, the Pacific Northwest, North Idaho, Western Montana, and areas like that, it is banned for a very, very long time, an anti-government Ruby Ridge standoff area, all right? The government knows this, and so does the Chinese government, all right? That's why they have been putting Chinese troops through Trudeau at different areas that they've been allowed to put in there under protecting their assets, all right, for several years, and people have seen them up training in Canada on that Canadian border, right, so that they could scoop in right there and hit northern Idaho, western Montana, and stuff like that, all right? There has been people that, including Dustin, who have talked to people that have seen Russian little four-man squads that have been in gyms and stuff. They're checking areas out over in the North Dakota area. They're like looking around bases and everything like that. This stuff's been going on for years, all right? And then we have the Biden regime right now. And like I say, I just watched something on Redacted. There was a whistleblower on the inside. He was talking about it, the Homeland Security or whatever else, and they are putting these people up by the thousands and thousands, millions of people across the border, are all fighting age and stuff like that, and they're putting them up in strategic locations and paying for room and board. They're paying nurses $20,000, sellout nurses $20,000 a week to look after these people, and I mean, they can't even control the filth, sex trafficking, pimping, and stuff like that that's going on in these places that they know of, that they're bringing them into. But they're paying for buses, they're buying them vehicles to drive them. I mean, they're spending billions of dollars with our tax money, right, to bring these guys in. And of course, we know that the inside the Muslim, that they have a worldwide jihad that they've planned on doing for a long time, where they all light off at once and cause as much chaos as possible. And of course, through as much chaos as possible and people not knowing what the hell's going on, they're just gonna be like, government save us, which is exactly what they want to do, which is why they're creating this mess in the first place, which only swoops in more control, gets you in a FEMA camp, and get your head chopped off, all right? And that's exactly what they want to do. But we have these people positioned all over the place, so I want to talk about that a little bit, all right? So if, like I say, back east, getting to a place, it's going to be harder than it is over in the west, where you can get into mountains and stuff like that. But some of the places you want to get away from, like instantly, would be any of your democratic areas. The reason why is that one of the strategic things that they could do, if they were going to do a partial takeover first, which is a smart idea, so you don't have the unification, is to actually cause a civil war in America, right? Where we're fighting against each other. Maybe you set it off with some of the terrorists you've planted and stuff like that, and you do it at the same time, all right? But if we're fighting against each other, and we get a division where states separate, right? California, Oregon, Washington, or wherever, they pull away. New York and other places, and then there's the rest of the country, right? These new areas, they're going to be democratic controlled. They're going to fall apart instantly, and this would open the door for them to call from their own states that they might like try to sign off as their own little freaking country, for outside help to come in. They would willingly let China or the UN come in and get a foothold, all right? And this would all be under the guise that they're just getting a foothold, or they're just there to help. But this would be a foothold from that point on, where they could launch more attacks into further parts of the U.S. until they eventually subdue it, right? Because they're going to have endless resources from their governments and stuff like that against people that are, they would be out in the wilderness, bugged out and stuff like that, with limited supplies and stuff, all right? But if they did this, they would literally welcome it in. Some of the states you want to stay away from, it would be your blue states. And like I say, you want to be around mountainous areas and stuff like that. But for instance, like Colorado, I wouldn't be in Colorado. I've had that dream back in like 2019 or 18, and it was under Chinese occupation. And it's been weird lately. I've been having multiple dreams. I just had one 2 nights ago of Chinese occupation again, and they came in and they had taken they swooped in fast in the area that I was in. They had confiscated from this location I was at all the guns that I had. They were all in my truck for some reason, which is stupid because I wouldn't have all my guns in my vehicle at once. But they did, and then they were looking for these people because they had their addresses and stuff like that from their license plates. So they're waiting for them to show back up to their vehicles or whatever else, and then they were subduing them. But some of the people that were working with them were Chinese that were already here, that were like loyal to them. And I went up and talked to one of them who was a friend in the dream that I knew, and they were basically being formal with me, but their loyalty was to China, and they were about to arrest me. I escaped, and they're shooting at me and everything like that. I ended up waking up, but I keep having dreams and stuff like that. But like literally, like they could literally welcome that stuff in right into the locations that they have already been planning through the Democratic Party in the blue states and stuff like that. If we were to have some type of civil war or a separation from some of these states that are an absolute abomination that we don't want to have anything to do with anymore, and it would only be part of a foothold if they didn't want to do a full-on attack at once. Another idea is they just release all this chaos at once. The CIA or some 3-lettered agency puts out their word, just like they controlled ISIS and everything like that. They tell them to do the attack through their leaders, and now you're getting attacks at different locations all over the U.S. at once, and then they release some of these guys that are of fighting age that they've been bringing in across their southern border, which are Chinese and other militaries as well, right? And they bring them in, and then they just do a full-on onslaught at once. They've been getting supplied and everything like that from our own government. There's a number of different ways that they can do it, and like I say, just like when you're playing chess, when you're going in for the checkmate, you don't always just use one strategy with like the queen and like a rook or something like that. You can have backups with castles and other things like that. So if one falls through, or if one gets killed, you quickly just move the next piece into play. And with this situation, because of the founding fathers and how they set up this country so that, you know, our government would have a lot to deal with if they were going to try and destroy us, right? Which is exactly what they've been doing now. They would have a lot to go against. We have a lot of, like, you know, backups and stuff like that. They have to destroy all that at once, and of course they've been working on it now for a very long time. So there's multiple ways they can do it, but that's what I'm saying. Being prepared for a worst case scenario is like it's so important, because right now we're literally right there. You guys know the election stuff's coming up. You know that they want to fix things because of how bad they are. People are just craving for it, and yet they're a hair away from completing their operation. So they're going to do anything, cheat any way they can to make this happen, because they want to bring in a new world order. They have to. They're on a timeline themselves. All right, that they have to do this within a certain time. So they're going to cheat and kill and murder and do whatever they have to make sure that they win in this situation. And it's coming. And it's coming very, very fast. That's why I'm saying, like, you need to take prepping or being ready or having a warrior mentality mindset to be ready, you know, at all times. And of course, you know, why I haven't talked about this is I'm always talking to different groups. You're going to get the people that are frail, can't move, they're overage, they're overweight, they're on the government, you know, help, and you're in trouble. All right, you're in trouble, and that's why I don't want to talk about it, because, you know, I don't want to be bringing in some doom and gloom. But like, in all seriousness, if this were to go down, what would you do? You know, you're going to be in some big trouble. So having plans, thinking about this stuff ahead of time, like, it's why it's smart. It's why you know, try to stay as healthy as you can and prepare, stay close to God and things, because this time, I mean, we all knew that it was coming eventually, and we all hoped that you know, we wouldn't have to see it without God returning first. But the way things look, like I say, it doesn't look like that. It looks like we're going to see some stuff before the tribulation even starts, and we know that has to happen for them. There has to be enough chaos for them to even bring a peace deal worldwide together, to bring everybody together in the first place. So those first parts, that chaos and stuff that happens, I mean, it's to be expected. Talking about preps, like I said, I was saying rice and beans, like if you're going to put them in a bucket and stuff like that. If you are in a bugging situation where you can do that, maybe you are in a freaking awesome community and it's conservative and you love the country, you're all patriots, and you got tons of people around like that. Remember that all hell's going to break loose in the tribulation, all right? Those four horsemen are going to release. People's minds are going to change. They're going to go nuts. But that might not be the case leading up prior to it. They might be able to handle it a little bit better, okay? My point is, if you are in a bug-in situation and you can do it, and you have a community or whatever, you know, then that is an option too. You're not trying to make it through the tribulation. You're trying to make it up to the rapture that happens before the tribulation, all right? That's the point. And so that case, I mean, you're not, how do I say it? It's more of an ease of mindset, I guess I could say, because you know that you're not trying to make it through the worst time in history. You're just trying to make it up to that point, all right? All the prequel stuff. And that, like I say, that's doable. It's doable. There's going to be people that do that. How hard will it be? Like I say, will there still be a structure of society? I think so. I saw it in the dream. People were still driving around, but definitely crap had happened. Could there be some sort of civil war or whatever else, and then it gets quelled, and then things go somewhat back to normal? That's a possibility too, all right? There's all kinds of things as they prep to subdue America, all right? Once America's taken, that's it, man. They've got the whole thing. They've got all the different world leaders and everything together, and then they can come in. They can just come in and subdue. You can't do that if there are still people that are free in a country and we're fighting back and they're trying to see how good the Antichrist and everything like that. We're shooting and we're putting out, because there's geniuses out there. We can put out our own videos and shoot signals other places in the world. We can talk to people, all right? They can't have that. They have to subdue all of them, and America's the last one that they have to subdue, all right? So, like I say, if you can bug in, like, if you know how to do canning, food and stuff like that. Yeah, that's all great stuff. I mean, use it to your advantage. Like, say, if you don't have that option or anything like that, that's what I was saying, like rice and beans and other stuff that lasts a long time. You can stick in bags, put in 5-gallon buckets, and store it or bury it or cache it or whatever else, right? You see what I'm saying? But there's multiple different options for food. People were talking about honey and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. All that kind of stuff that you can use that's going to last a long time, that can preserve, that can store. I've done, like I say, for 15 years, I've practiced different things. I went out, done bushcraft stuff. I practiced making fires in different situations. I've lived in the woods. I've practiced different things. I've done research and watched videos on people, making jerky and everything like that, what you can do for smoking it to keep the flies away and stuff, how you can do it in a day if you set up the right little framework and stuff for it, and try to practice things that you can. If you haven't practiced, like I said, that makes it harder. But if you have communities or whatever where you guys can stick together, currently, like where I'm at, my buddy, he's got like 60 chickens, right, and he sells eggs galore. And they're all over the place. But like, if there was a bug-in situation in the community, or things were in the prequels of breaking down, and there was still that option to stick around, you're gonna have food, you're gonna have trading with people, because if you have something that they need and they have something you need, you guys can work together. You see what I'm saying? So there's lots of different things to think about, like I say. And this would be like in a situation where you could stay in. Maybe you wouldn't have to go out, right? They would have to do something extremely extreme for them to start coming after the entire public to subdue them, and having everybody going along with it. Like I say, that doesn't seem likely at all. What seems likely is them causing some sort of civil unrest amongst each other, and them causing chaos, us getting into a type of civil war, division and stuff like that, and then they bringing in people under the guise of help, outside sources and stuff like that, to start putting a foothold, making like forts and everything like that, and then starting to subdue America one piece at a time, right? And that kind of seems like the way it's going to go. But where we're at, in this time of history, how bad things are, the timeline, the 2030 timeline that hasn't changed what they want to do. Like I say, they're up against a wall, and they didn't just put that timeline there. I believe they put that timeline there because they know when that whole solar system, the Nibiru system, aka Apophis, that Tom Horn's talking about and stuff, is actually coming, except it's not a little asteroid or whatever. Like, I made a video about that before. NASA quickly put that out as a reversal for his dream on Apophis. It's a whole planetary system. It's how the solar system got blasted in the first place. Happened at the time of the flood. It's what cracked the earth open and let all the water out from underneath the crust in the first place, and it's going to be coming back. Like I say, it's nothing light or easy. Whenever you downplay the tribulation or what's part of it, like, it's the biggest mistake of your life. It's the worst time in human history. It's like no joke. So they have that, and they're looking at that and watching it. I mean, it's why they have the Lucifer telescope and everything like that. They're keeping an eye on all of that stuff. So they're up against the wall themselves, that timeline that they need to get stuff done by. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, it is serious. It's getting down to crunch time, and that's why taking prepping or looking at it seriously, or getting some stuff saved together, and like I say, rushing out and getting everything at once isn't really going to be an option for people right now. They're breaking us in the bank and everything else. It's tough. So getting a little bit when you can, stocking it, saving it, getting cheap stuff that will preserve and last. I'd stay away from nasty ramen noodles, but stuff that you can get, rice, things that stay, that you can stick in a bag, that can last a long time. They're gonna give you nutrients. Beans. There's multiple different kinds of beans you can make chilies and stuff from, and everything like that. Soup and stuff like that. And then anything else you find, you can throw it in a pot. Having some skillets and stuff like that you could cook on a fire if you needed to. Just having a preparedness mindset is what I'm saying, all right? It's smart to have. And that's why I was going over that yesterday, but I kind of went over it lightly. Like, it is no joke. It's no joke at all. It's extremely, extremely serious, all right? And why I don't worry about it too much is because my ass is prepped. I have been for a long time. I talk about all this stuff and everything like that, but I put it to work. What I say, what I'm talking about, I actually believe it. I believe everything that I'm saying because God wanted me to put it out. I have the information to put it out. I know what they're up to, and if I can help other people along the way, if they're going to listen, like, then I want to do that. So that's why I do it. But I don't just talk about it. Like, I'm actually doing it behind the scenes, and the people that know me know that I am. Like, I take it seriously. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to be looked at lightly, but I don't want you to be freaking out at the same time either. Like I say, I mean, I'm not freaking out, but I know that, hey, they've got this stuff in play, and there's no way that you're backing it off now. They've done it. They've destroyed America. It's at the last moments, and they're still money laundering, like, on the daily with more money for Ukraine and stuff like that. It just gets funneled right back to them, and they're taking what they can. They're buying their assets and they're putting that into future currencies that they're going to be using and rolling out with after they crash the dollar and stuff like that. So I mean, it's just with your own money, and they're coming up with ways to kill you too with your own money. You're paying for your own death. It's disgusting. All right, it really is. It's an abomination. But like I say, you've read about it. You know what the Bible says. You knew these days and stuff would come. There's a lot of pastors that have been paid off out there, lots and lots of them that have been paid off to not talk about this, to shy away from this, to say this isn't going to happen, to not worry about it, and things like that. These guys have been paid off. They sold their soul to Satan. All right. And they're going to tell you, don't worry about this, don't look at this stuff, it's not actually coming, you won't have to worry anyways. If it did, you're once saved, always saved. In the rapture, you don't have to live for God. In fact, go out and sin as much as you possibly can, and whatever you do, don't ask for forgiveness. Like, they're telling you this stuff because they've been sold out. They sold their soul to Satan. It's disgusting, all right? But it's true. Okay, there really is a downfall, destruction is coming, and it's going to come hard. And America's the number one target. We've got multiple countries that have teamed up with their governments and diabolical plans that have been in the works for a long time to take us out finally and subdue us. And when you remove God, you remove the hand of protection. All right, it's the same way that happened with Israel. Israel is a prime example. All right, when they moved away from God, their enemies were allowed to come in and destroy them. Right, it removes His hand. You open that force field, that shield that God has around a place. If you're walking with Him, or you have a country that's built on His principles and you're following it, He's going to protect it. He's going to keep it from happening. He's going to give warnings like, hey, repent, turn back from that stuff. I don't want anything to happen to you guys. If you force my hand away, I can't be there to protect you. And then they come in, all right? And that's exactly what they've done with America and what they did with Israel. Like I say, it's an example for future generations to look at. It's why the Bible's there, all right? I'm reading a comment right now, all right, from the video that I just put out on prepping, okay? And 100% I believe in a pre-tribulation rapture. What you guys have to realize is any trouble that comes doesn't mean it's the tribulation, all right? Trouble has come throughout time, all right? That does not mean it's the tribulation. The rapture happens before the tribulation. Trust me, you will know when it happens. Within the first year, 2 billion people are going to be dead. By 3.5 years, 6 billion people are dead. It's no joke. That line up 8 people and whack 6 of them laying next to you, all right? And then 2 of them standing there, all right? That's what it's going to be like everywhere, all right? It's terrible. But disaster leading up to the tribulation is something that we can go through at any time. And that's why I'm saying be ready, all right? I want to address something that I saw not too long ago, the 2030 video, all right? These guys put in a lot of work on Messiah 2030, all right? And they've got 3 parts on it, okay? And I thought the first one was really good. I think it's really cool that they were able to look and see, with their team that they put together this video, about how the menorah would go out from the time that Jesus showed up, and no matter what they did, it would blow out each night. There's nothing they could do to keep it going, and yet for a couple thousand years before that, it would never go out while it was in the temple. And then the cloth that would turn white to show that they were cleansed from sins once a year, it would never change anymore, right? And how they couldn't keep the door closed anymore, it would be wide open, right? And this is the power of God, obviously, right? And I thought that was very cool. And they have taken a timeline that puts it at 2030, all right? And when it first came out, it was lined up for 7 years leading up to 2030, right? The same time that the elites are pushing towards, all right? Problem is that didn't happen, and they put in all that work. So what do you start doing when that happens? You start changing your idea. Now they've moved into a 3.5 year tribulation. All right, the 3.5 year tribulation that many people have gone along with, including Steve Quayle and stuff like that, I am 100% opposed against. All right, it is not 3.5 years, it's 7 hellacious long years, and the first 3.5 years, the most people die in it. Why is that? Because there's more people to kill in that time. By the time you get to the second half, there's only about 2 to 3 billion people left on the earth. All right, and these are the worst scum ever. Then they get the acid that they've been putting on people, the slow drip, when God releases the bowl judgments on them, and it lasts for like 3.5 years, right, during the process of that time, and it's just absolutely terrible on earth, okay, leading up to Armageddon. But it is 100% 7 years. The two witnesses come for this time, all right? The first 3.5 years, 1,260 days, they're witnessing in Jerusalem. The Antichrist knows he can't take them out, and they're there speaking to the Jews and the people around there from Jerusalem and from safety. Finally, 3.5 years comes in, the Antichrist knows he can take him out. He comes in and kills them. It's the same time he does the abomination of desolation, and then he starts killing the Jews. The Jews now flee, which it says in Revelation 12, for 1,260 days, the second half of the tribulation, and they have to go into hiding. They never had to during this first time because he's still making the peace deal with them in the first 3.5 years. How long do they go for? Another 360, which is exactly 3.5 years that they go out to Petra, all right? And then he turns when he can't get them, and he starts to go after anybody else, all right? My point is, it is 7 years, all right? And we're past the time where it is. So if the tribulation started this year, it wouldn't end until 2031, all right? So their idea is already out the window. What do they do in this video with all their ideas? They do leading, okay? They put in a bunch of different ideas while they're saying that this has to be a fact. So obviously with our conclusion, it has to be this, and then moving on from that point. And then they'll get you fooled, okay? My point is when you do that, no, if you break down some of the stuff, you don't know that for a fact. It's a theory and it's an idea, and if it proves to be wrong, then you have to take it at that. When people put so much work or they write a book into something, they don't want to subtract what they've said, so they continue to go along with it and they move it into another thing. They've moved it into 3.5 years. For those that are looking that the tribulation absolutely has to start in 2024, I am sorry, no it doesn't. And that is why I've said a couple videos ago, this could get pushed back as far as 2026. Why do I say that? Because from 2026, from fall of there, it would be 7 years to 2033, right? 2033 is what we have on our timeline that we know inside our calendars is the best possible, that when Jesus was, when he was resurrected and when it was done after his 3 years, his time, okay? And that's why I've said that. But we also have a time from the Jews becoming a nation and what Moses wrote in Psalm 90, where he talks about a generation being 70 years or by strength or hardship going to 80 when he wrote this, okay? That would be all the way up to 2028, okay? Because that would be the full 80 years, and then maybe starting the time on that. We've thought, and I have thought for a long time, that this would have to, the tribulation would hopefully fall within this time period, fulfilling everything. But the stuff leading up to the tribulation appears to be what it is, because if we started a 7-year tribulation right now, it would go past 2020, it would go to 2031. So it does not fall. The tribulation does not fall within the 80 years from Israel, the fig tree, becoming a nation, all right? It very well might go up to the last point and then start the tribulation. All the things being fulfilled are the things, the wars, rumors of wars, are things leading up to the time of Jacob's trouble, okay? And that is why I'm saying to prep and to be ready, all right? Do not put your whole life into what somebody is saying when the rapture is going to happen, because they have the statistics for it, and then you don't prep, all right? Be ready for anything. That's what I'm saying, okay? Just be ready for anything, and do not fall into where well, it most definitely has to it has to be this way, because if you do, you could get caught off guard in that situation, all right? So I just want to warn you about it, like I say. And I did see that video on there, and there's a lot of stuff that they have wrong, and to make that happen, they have to completely wipe out the two witnesses and several other things that I saw in the video of the third part of 2030, all right? So if you guys have seen that and you're looking for the rapture in 2024, and that's what you're basing it off of, like I say, that it has to, it doesn't have to, all right? So I just want to say that. Discussing dates, it's got me sitting here thinking about 2021 and what I was told. I still have never got an answer for that. I want to talk about that really fast. it really reminds me of the whole Jonah situation. If you don't do what he says, if you're called to, you can go through some stuff. You can get swallowed by a whale, right? And then to do it and go along with it, all right, I'm going to do what you say, only to have it fall. Nineveh repents or the rapture doesn't happen, right? I told you guys exactly what happened in 2021, and to make things even more interesting, I have prayed about that so many times and asked God, because we talked for an hour that morning, and there was multiple different topics that were brought up. Encouragements, other things like that were said, information, secrets, and stuff like that, which since that time, he has brought up to me, remember this, remember when I talked about that? Yes, that's true. I forgot about that, and that's a good point. During the conversation that we had that morning, the same conversation where I was told it's most definitely this year, right? And I've asked myself time and time again, why did that happen? Why was that? It was clearly him. And then he doubled it down with my little brother, all right? These are both completely and totally like acts of God, all right? I've told you guys a story. I've said it over and over again. It's unnatural what happened. He literally froze time for my little brother, sent him out within 10 minutes into the middle of nowhere for him to pull out a arrowhead that he said if he was really going to do it, that would be his sign, all right? The red arrowhead, okay? Or with me where I'm saying, oh, God, if you were really saying this stuff, you could have just told me there's a piece of glass behind the rock. So I go over to grab the piece of glass, and what I had asked for is underneath the 1-inch piece of glass, right? And then to ask and pray about it, having given confirmation in the Bible and stuff like that the same day, and then the onslaught, the absolute onslaught of attacks, which is the same thing that happens whenever you get something from God, whenever it's there, get ready for the forces of darkness to come in. It's the cue sign that you actually got something from God. I have never been attacked so hard, up to the point of them sending in Satan sending in a female assassin to rip my heart out by the time the end of the year rolled around, all right? It was the worst time that I've ever experienced in my life, and I had to go through literal hell after getting that message, all right? Only for sleeping out into the freaking snow up to December 20th, only for it to not happen, right? Talk about disheartening into a like a whole broken state, and then to hear God later in the next year in April say, "Almost time, son," talking about the rapture. It's like, why did you do that? What was the point of that? What's the purpose? I don't care what happens to me. If God wants to do something with me, if he wants to take me out or end me or whatever else, that's his business. But when it involves other people, because I don't lie. I don't lie ever. There's no reason for it, and I know the damage it can cause. And not only that, but when I'm searching for the rewards and stuff like that, it would destroy that. There's no reason for me to lie, which is why I vetted until finally I had no choice. And he said, "This is why I gave you the channel. You have to speak. You have to say what I said." I'm like, all right, I'll do it. And then for it to not happen, right? I'm speaking of him saying that it was most definitely this year in 2021. And then to find out 3 years later, it was also on Ascension Day. It's like, you've got to be kidding me how this stuff keeps unfolding. I know that he was talking to me that day. So why didn't it happen, all right? What was the point of it? And the answer is, I still don't have the answer to that, all right? I don't. I think it was some god-awful test for me, all right? I have struggled with things, especially since the military, on taking and following orders when I know that they're coming from men and stupid morons when I know better, right? So I have a problem with that, and I have also put myself in that situation when it comes to God, all right, that I feel like I know it's better. Talking to people about God or doing something where he forbids it, and I get the same result. Talking to him about God or saving him from something bad, right? And I did it in a way that he didn't want to, and I've been scolded for it by God before and stuff like that. And I don't know why he said that. And the only thing I think, sometimes is maybe it's following orders when I feel like I shouldn't, and it's not going to go through, but I have to do it anyways because God said it. I honestly, I just don't know. I don't know. And I'm bringing this up because, thinking about the whole 2030 and stuff like that, and setting dates and stuff like that, you can talk about the rapture all live long day. You can come up with theories and ideas and everything like that. And that wasn't even the date. It was this most definitely this year, right? And that's what I was told. And just to think about that, and It's like, and then for it to not happen, like I say, you can be caught off guard. It can let you down. So I want people, from what I'm saying right now, I want you to take from it, don't put trust in, you don't have to prep or you don't have to be ready because these guys said this certain thing, so it most definitely has to happen. How many dates and things have been set, including from people that are totally heartfelt on this, right? I did that one time because I was told to, and I never done it before. There's no reason, and I've told God, like, whatever happened that year, whatever reason that you did that, I can never do that again to people. I can't do that. It's wrong. Right? And I've said that before because I didn't want to do it in the first place. I was arguing with him on it. And I still had to go through and do it. I want you to know that was not easy for me to do. It was not easy at all. But it's exactly what happened the way that I said that it happened, right? And that's never changed. And it has all the cue signs of it being from God and the attacks being let loose on me. Not only that, after he talked to me that morning, I fished. I was fishing for years leading up to that, right? Like several years, because it was kind of like my free time, my go away thing to do, like, and I was using it as a way to try to relax and not think about stuff, the return of God, all right? And to get my mind off stuff, to speed up time, to have an easy place, to not be in the fight all the time, to ease off of it, right? And that was taken from me that morning. After he talked to me, I didn't fish anymore. I've only fished like once recently, or once or twice recently, just this year. But I lost fishing. Like, I lost all interest in it after that morning when I talked to him. And I don't know why he did that. It's because I feel like maybe I was using it kind of like a crutch. I don't know how to explain it. You get into something, you're like, okay, I've done enough here, and I'm just going to set over on the side, and I'm going to let it play out. I've done my part. I'm not in this anymore. I'm going to move myself over. I've done enough. And that's kind of how I was treating fishing. I've done enough. All right? I want my mind free. I want to do something that wastes time, that speeds up time, until you get to Christmas, right? You're looking to do stupid stuff. Like, you want to open the presents, right? You want to open the presents. You want Christmas Day to go there. So you're playing board games with your brothers and sisters, doing all kinds of things to make time go by. That's what I was doing with fishing. And that morning when he talked to me, I lost fishing for years. I'm going to try it again this year, to do a little bit, but I feel like it was taken from me. It was crazy. And that's just one of the things that happened that morning when he talked. Like, it was serious. And like I say, he's brought up the discussion and some of the things that we talked about that morning as well. And it's just crazy because it was all real. And then it still didn't go through the way that I wanted to. And like I say, come to find out, it's going to be something where I needed to hear it at that time for an encouragement to make it. He was also using it to test me, to see if I could follow orders even when I don't agree with it. And then to come to find out, off of his timeline in heaven, it really is most definitely this year, and it wasn't a lie in the first place, so there's no way I can argue with it. I mean, one way or another, he's going to make that happen. And like I say, to only find out now this year, like 3 years later, that it was also on Ascension Day, it's just one more thing that just keeps adding to it. Yeah, no, I really did hear from him. It really did happen. I wasn't making that up, and I was really trying to encourage people with that. So, but even with that, that's my point, all right? Look what happened. That was in 2021. Look how much further we've gone, all right? Be ready for anything, all right? This could push back all the way to 2028, or what I've said, 2026, because it'd be 7 years, to 2033, and that literally would be 6,000 years that this whole operation's been going on, all right? So if he's going to follow that timeline, like the way it looks, like the way Peter figured out, that it's built off the whole week plan for 7,000 years, 6,000 years here, 1,000 years with him ruling, and then that finishes up to 7,000 years, then that could be the way too, all right? But whatever happens, like I say, if things don't go the way we want, if you have to go into it further, if he holds it back further, like I say, he's watching us like live data, all right? The same way you'd watch a computer, right? And if it had artificial intelligence that's making its own conscious decision, things are going to be changing at all the time. You're watching it at like live data, and then at the right time, since it's always moving and constantly changing, you're going to pick when it's going to be like, nope, now's the right time. And that's the same thing he's doing with us. But the way that it's looked, if we look in the Bible, it's always back to the last second, all right? And that's what I'm saying, to prepare, all right? And I hope that I've said enough about this, like I say, any ideas that you have, I mean, you can watch videos on things, you can look things up, you can get stuff, but if you have a chance now, all right, and you have the money, your money is not going to be worth crap. So if you're listening to this and you do have a savings, put it into preps. Preps are priceless, okay? When your money goes out and now you can't buy anything, but you could have done it before and you could have set it to preps, freaking prep, man. Freaking prep. For people out there that still have toilet paper from the last fiasco, hopefully that went into preps. All right, just think about these different things, all right? And think about it accordingly and take it seriously, all right? And like I say, be ready for anything, because even if you think that it's most definitely going to be this year or next year, or, what I've said, like 2026 seems like it would be the last, hey, it might even push further. We don't know. So all I know is that it's soon. I know that they have timelines. I know that the Pope is the false prophet. He doesn't die. He is tossed alive in a lake of fire with the Antichrist, right? Revelation 19, so he makes it to the tribulation. You look at his age, things are up against the wall. As soon as he got in, that's when I was sent out, all right? It's been going for 10 years. All right, God really is doing this. He did the Revelation 12 sign. They really are using direct energy weapon. They're calling down fire from the sky, all right? All this stuff is really happening, and they're right on the cusp of destroying America. So take prepping seriously. Take all of it serious. Be ready. Trust in God. Don't freak out. But think about it accordingly. And like I say, if it does go into, a moderate, where things are moderate, you might have that community. So bugging in might be the best option, right? But think about all of it and take it seriously. And I feel like this kind of covers it a little bit more of what I was saying yesterday. And hopefully that it helps, all right? God bless. I'll catch you next time on the Leashings. Just remember, have your Bible. Know it. Read it. Love it, all right? Because they're eventually going to take me down and other people, all right? Look, they've been doing it the whole time. They can take down whatever they want at any time they want. We have no control over it anymore, all right? So be ready at all times, because it's going to eventually come down to just you and God, and that relationship you have with Him, all right, is going to be what you have, all right? And then it's going to be up to you, okay? So take it seriously, all right? And remember these words and what I've said, and like I say, God bless, and just prepare for anything, okay? It's better to be prepared than not to be, all right? And there's nothing wrong with it at all right? There's nothing wrong with preparing for a worse situation, all right? You're looking for the rapture, obviously, and it's the blessed hope, and it's to be excited for, but anything leading up to that's fair game, okay? So be prepared and be ready for anything, and trust in God, all right? God bless. I hope this helps a little bit more. Don't freak out about stuff, all right? I'll talk to you later. Catch you next time on the Leashing. Bye.